Something that's constantly being talked about online. Can we learn a second language like children do? Prior to this current phase of language learning that we're in, we try to get closer to how children learn a language. But that only has led to this passive learning style. And we now know that passive learning is not effective. It is active engagement. So that's leading a lot of us to think that we shouldn't be trying to learn a language like children. But is that the right approach? I think that we can still get closer to learning like we did as children, but it's more complicated than we think. That's what this video is going to talk about. My name is Maxwell Myers. I am a licensed therapist. In the past few years, I've been studying anxiety, language learning, and the intersection between the two. And these videos are here to help you learn a language, overcome your challenges with anxiety, and learn at a faster pace. So children are obviously the ideal language learner. They just kind of soak stuff up whenever they're around it. And from the outside perspective, from where we are as adults, children are just doing this effortlessly, which has led to this idea that passive engagement with a language is enough. But what we don't remember as kids is that when we're engaged with the language, we are actively engaged with it. We just consciously don't know it. And so when we try to create this active engagement, we tend to really struggle and we start to fall. The main reason for this is that as adults, we have fully formed prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that is conscious, our ability to think about our own thoughts, to think about our own actions. And children, they have a prefrontal cortex, but it's just not nearly as developed as it is for us right now. Decades ago, the linguist Stephen Krashen created the idea called the affective filter. And he argues that this is up in adults more often than it is in children. And when it's up, the affective filter is created by anxiety, negative emotions, things that inhibit the natural acquisition of a language. And so children tend to not have this affective filter at all. But right around puberty time, we start to see that the affective filter goes up much more frequently. Right around that time, too, is when the prefrontal cortex starts to really develop. That's when children start to really challenge rules, challenge assumptions right around that puberty time. And so think about it. Children moving into adulthood, they're starting to take on more responsibility. They're understanding manners, rules. They're starting to develop more assumptions of how to live. And because of that, they're starting to create these tiny things to worry about in life. Worry can essentially be good. We should worry about our finances a little bit so that we don't blow all of our money, right? We should worry about whether people like us at least a little bit, because otherwise we won't have friends. We won't have people who want to hire us. And so that worry is generated by the amygdala. The amygdala is this tiny little thing in your brain that activates your fight-flight system in your body. And one of those things that we can worry about, like I mentioned before, is whether we're liked by people. If we have a worry that some people are going to like us or not, especially if we're practicing a second language, that fight-flight system is activated. And when worry is there, it takes up part of our working memory. And working memory is the part of our brain where we're taking in bits of information and we're starting to process it. And that's especially true when we're processing a second language. So if there's a lot of worry about whether someone's going to like us, whether we're using a grammar point correctly, whether we have our accent correctly, it's going to take up more space in our working memory than it needs to, which means we don't have the space available to retrieve information or to process information. When worry isn't present, we have more space to think. And so if, as adults, we lower the affective filter, learn to reduce the worry in our working memory, is that it? Is that all that we need to do? Well, ask yourself, when the affective filter is low, where does your attention tend to go then? Take a look at children. Where does their attention go? They're driven by what really interests them. It's really their arousal, their curiosity. The beautiful thing about being an adult is that we have the ability to decide, I'm weak in this area in my language studies, so I'm going to focus on this. Children don't really have that ability yet. If anything, they're gravitating towards the things that are interesting in them or interested by them, and they just kind of soak up the language in that area that they're interested in. So arousal is the thing that drives the focus of children. We can learn to use that arousal to drive our focus as adults when we lower the affective filter. As adults, we have to purposefully decide to engage with the language. And by engage, I mean this kind of micro give and take, where you are listening to what someone is saying, taking in that information, generating an idea, and then deciding how to say something. Your focus is literally on that give and take of the language. Same thing if you're watching a TV show, taking in information, forming an idea about what this character is doing, how this character feels about a person, and then listening again to what the next character is going to say so that you generate another idea to see if your theory is true or not in the TV show. That kind of purposeful attention, however, is effortful. And the problem is we do not like effort. Our body does not like effort. It kind of gravitates towards being lazy. Now, when I say lazy, what I really mean by is it's efficient. It's efficient because it's trying to conserve as many resources as possible. It's the same body that our ancestors had 10,000 years ago. And 10,000 years ago, it was exceptionally good at that because, well, we're alive today. And one of the most taxing parts of our body is the brain. And so, if it finds a way to not need to think about something or not need to focus on something, it's going to tune it out because otherwise focusing on it is burning resources that can be used somewhere else. The brain, however, is also a pattern-making machine. It likes to find patterns in the chaos of life. So if we're able to find patterns in certain things, we get those little hits of dopamine. And that's enough to keep our engagement going, to keep our curiosity going in whatever it is that we're interested in. So not only learning to lower the affective filter, but learning to actively engage in whatever it is that we're studying, and also being okay with more errors. Because look at children. Yes, they're actively engaged in certain things, but they don't have a worry about getting things right or wrong, the same type of worry that we may have in high school or college. They're constantly trying things out and they're making errors all the damn time. We have to learn to be okay with those errors too, which means we have to get comfortable with the idea of discomfort. And then if you're able to follow the model of deliberate practice, which I talk about in a few of my other videos, you're able to look at your errors, use that as feedback to let you know what you need to improve upon, implement that into your study routine, and then you continue to grow from there. That is how we grow in whatever skill set we're studying. Take some time to ask yourself, do I have any worries about my language? Where is my apprehension? Where do I feel like I want to pull away from the language? And ask yourself, why? Get curious about it. See if you can write it down and see if you can ask yourself, is that worry warranted? Hopefully by identifying these worries, you're able to see them and review them in a more realistic and helpful light. And then you're able to stay engaged with the language and keep learning. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you liked it, let me know in the comments below, or like the video or subscribe. It lets me know that this stuff is interesting to you. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Subjects you want to learn about. I'm here to help you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.